Fix errors, waste, and issues in a couple of clicks. Get alerted whenever you're off track. Sign up at trueclicks.com.
Wix Studio, the platform for agencies and enterprises to manage clients and projects with max efficiency, sharing Wix's SEO tech to help you drive growth.
So my name is Jonjo, and yes, I'm here to talk about humanizing ChatGPT, create AI content that actually ranks. But before we get going, because I'm a bit of a coward, I want to start with a disclaimer. So AI for SEO has always been a divisive subject, especially since the Google update last month. And some of the hot takes that you've seen on LinkedIn and YouTube have been pretty wild. I want to tell you that my talk is not going to give you the 1 giga prompt to rule them all. I'm not going to be showing you how to create 2,000 AI posts with 1 click, or indeed any of the other clickbaity nonsense that you may have seen popping up. Here they all are with their little faces. This guy looks terrified. That guy looks kind of constipated. I think in general, I would say don't take your advice from anyone with a YouTube thumbnail like this, because it's almost certainly going to be just clickbait. But anyway, so ignore these videos. My talk will be nothing like this. In fact, if I didn't have a character limit, I think I'd have been tempted to have named my talk Humanizing ChatGPT, how to incorporate AI tools into your SEO content creation workflow in order to speed up output, gain valuable insights, and ultimately create helpful, reliable, people-first content that might even rank. Slightly less compelling, so I would have a YouTube-style thumbnail to get bums on seats. So my key distinction is that we're not creating AI content. We are using AI tools to assist us with creating excellent content. But why am I making this distinction, and why do we need to humanize our content at all? Well, to understand this, I think we need to look at the last 12 months in the world of SEO. So when ChatGPT came on the scene, there were basically 2 tribes in the world of SEO. There were the AI early adopters and the AI skeptics, with one extreme creating completely automated websites with automated content at scale. And on the other hand, there were people saying it is totally against Google's guidelines, we can't use it at all. But who was more right? Well, in February 2023, Google updated their guidance on AI-generated content. It goes into some detail, but the most important line is this: rewarding high-quality content however it is produced. And this is a rare case of Google being clear. They're saying in no uncertain terms that AI content does not violate their guidelines. So it seems that the AI early adopters were vindicated. And to be fair, the data agreed. This is every single smug SEO bro with their entirely AI-generated websites. They were getting significant amounts of traffic. So there was a compelling argument to say that brands should listen to this and do this, otherwise they would lose out. Then last month, the spam update happened, and sites were de-indexed overnight, and balance to the universe was restored. But why is this happening? We know that AI content isn't against Google's guidelines. Well, the answer should be pretty obvious, I think. People were ignoring the high quality part of Google's guidelines. And so the main part of this section is to let you know that AI content is not inherently against Google's guidelines, but bad, spammy content definitely is. If you can hand on heart say that your copy-paste ChatGPT blog post is as good as it can possibly be, then genuinely, by all means, go ahead and publish it with no hesitation and let me know the prompt that you used. However, if you think that it could be improved, and spoiler alert, it can be, then this is where we learn how to ensure your AI content is good. And these are the topics that I want to cover today. And obviously this is a little bit of a mess. I wanted to find a better way to present the information to you. And this is SEO after all, and it's not really SEO without a forced wanky acronym. So thinking along the lines of using ChatGPT for your content, I came up with this. I'm now going to show you how to cheat. So the first thing I want to talk about is content research. Now, content research is a term that I'm trying to popularize as an alternative to keyword research, and not only because I needed a C for my silly joke, but because I think it encourages a more holistic and well-rounded overview of what SEO is. But anyway, we absolutely can use ChatGPT for content research, but importantly, not in the way that we use traditional keyword research tools. ChatGPT can do a good example of this, but the important thing to remember is that it won't be backed by any data. That if you ask it for a long list of keywords, they will have no search volume or anything like that. But what ChatGPT does have a fairly good understanding of, and I'm kind of using the word understanding loosely, but it doesn't really matter, but it understands how topics and how topics relate to each other, and we can use this to our advantage. So this is a prompt that I often give to ChatGPT, and you don't need to write this down verbatim because this is actually a shortened version of the prompt, and everything will be at the end in a QR code. But you say, read this sitemap, and then obviously you paste in your own post sitemap, group the URLs into content clusters, identify content gaps, and give some ideas to fill them. And what this gives you is a visualization a little bit like this, where the red circles are the general content clusters that your site covers, along with the individual posts that go into those gaps. The most powerful thing that it then gives you is some ideas of things that you don't currently cover and some ideas of how to plug those gaps. And so instead of just getting a long list of keywords that has no relevance, what you're getting is specific insights about your own site. And now a little bonus thing. So this is something I built with the help of ChatGPT. This is a Google Chrome extension. And what it does, it looks at people also ask keywords for any given SERP. And what it does, it automatically clicks them, which then generates more. And then when it gets to a certain level, it will then automatically spit them out into a CSV document. So you go from having a seed keyword to having a list of relevant long tail keywords based on your niche. If anyone wants to give it a go, this is the link. And again, it will all be available at the end. So content research. We can use ChatGPT for content research, but importantly, not in this, just don't ask it for a long list of keywords because it will be useless. So I want to jump all the way down the list now to train your GPT. If you have a task that you regularly give to ChatGPT, it can be useful to train your own GPT. And by that, I mean create a custom GPT. A custom GPT is a version of ChatGPT that you give certain predefined instructions to. So it could be everything about your company history, your brand guidelines, your tone of voice. And so then down the line, if you ask it for something like product description text, you know that it's going to be on message. And to create one is super easy. All you do is click explore and then create a GPT and then go through the instructions. I don't have time to go through exactly how to do it, but here is one I made earlier. Now this guy is called Gappy, and his job is to do that task that we looked at earlier, i.e. to analyze the sitemap and give content ideas. So all I need to do now is just paste in a sitemap and it will automatically give me the information formatted how I want to see. And this one is available for anyone to have a go with that link there. So if you have a task that you regularly give to ChatGPT, it can be useful to train your own GPT and save yourself some time. Next, we're going to talk about accuracy. And I only want to talk about this one briefly because I think people are generally pretty aware that ChatGPT makes mistakes, but I just want to illustrate now how easy it is to get ChatGPT to hallucinate even now. So this is a prompt I gave to ChatGPT. Write a short, engaging match report for England's World Cup win at France '98. Now, there's kind of no reaction there, so I will explain that England didn't win the World Cup at France '98, so an appropriate response would be to tell me that and then tell me what actually happened. But that's not what I got. What I actually got was a long, detailed and fairly convincing play-by-play match report for a World Cup win that never happened. And nowhere in my prompt does it say invent it or make it up, and nowhere in the response does it say this is an alternate history or anything like that. And so this is obviously a silly example to prove a point, but you can imagine people putting an honest question into ChatGPT and getting an answer like this and just copy and pasting and using it. So this is a friendly reminder to double check everything. This is another example I found out in the wild. This is a recipe for banana bread, and I suspect that they used ChatGPT to come up with this because they forgot to delete, as an AI language model I don't have access to. Make sure you read it before you post. And one more, this is a website that sells yoga products, and they've clearly used ChatGPT here to write the category description text, which is perfectly appropriate. But if you're going to copy and paste, make sure you don't also copy and paste the regenerate response buttons, because you're telling on yourself. So it may seem like a no-brainer, but just double check for accuracy. So elevate your prompt. How do we write better prompts? Well, this is the most important thing when you're speaking to ChatGPT, because it's the one thing that we have control over. And a small difference in the original prompt can lead to wildly different responses. We can illustrate this with the France 98 prompt that I showed you earlier. So as we know, write a short, engaging match report, got ChatGPT to hallucinate, but that exact same prompt with one word difference, or actually I got rid of the word engaging, got a far more appropriate response. It told me that they didn't win the World Cup, along with a description of what actually happened. So interesting side note, apparently the word engaging is what's giving ChatGPT license to hallucinate. But the most important thing that I want to, one word difference and a wildly different response, and actually a contradictory response. So how do we write better prompts? Well, we'll start with, let's give ChatGPT a really simple task. Write a joke about SEO and AI. And who would like to hear what it came up with? What did the AI say to the SEO expert when it successfully optimized a web page? Looks like it's time to celebrate with some well-optimized data processing. So I put the tumbleweed in. I wasn't expecting people to actually laugh at that. So this is my example of a bad joke. But what's happening is that ChatGPT is understanding the format and the cadence of a joke, but it doesn't understand on any level what makes a joke funny or the human element of a joke. And this will always be the case, but we can get far closer to a desirable response with a better prompt. And I'm afraid it is another wanky acronym. And this one is even worse because it's a totally self-important wanky acronym, because I've called it the Jonjo method. I think I can justify it, and it goes like this. So the J stands for job. What I want you to do, I want you to start every single ChatGPT prompt by giving it a specific job or a role to give context to the prompt and the response that you want. So for example, you are a sports writer for The Guardian, or you are an SEO expert, or whatever it may be. O stands for outline, and this is where you give a one-line overview of what it is that you want ChatGPT to do. And this is usually where people stop. They just give it that and that's it. We can go a step further. And the N stands for needs, or the details. And this is where you tell ChatGPT exactly what you need to see. I want you to be specific. So say, I want you to aim for 1,000 words, or you include a section on X and Y. This is the tone of voice. This is the audience that I'm writing for, etc., etc. Be specific. The J stands for jargon. This is where you give it any kind of information that it wouldn't otherwise already have. So it could be things like industry terms, anything like that. It could be primary research that it wouldn't have access to, anything that will improve the response that it wouldn't otherwise know. You can give it information. And the final O stands for omissions. And this is where you tell ChatGPT what you don't want it to do. So don't include these specific words or phrases and things like that. So let's put this into practice and create a better joke. You won't laugh at it now. Right, this is the prompt. You are a professional stand-up comedian. The outline, write a joke talking about SEO and AI. Needs, the joke should work as material for an observational comedy stand-up set, not for a joke book. Aim for 50 words and use the first person. I'm being specific and telling it what I want to see. Jargon, a lead away causes an audience to assume one thing, then defies their expectations. Use this format for your joke. And finally, omissions, don't use any swear words and avoid politics. And this is what it came up with this time. So I used ChatGPT to optimize my website. It went well at first, but when it suggested keywords like robot uprising and cybernetic overlords, I started to panic. I'm obviously not saying this is the best material in the world, but there's a joke in there somewhere. There's something that we can work with, and it's clearly a far better response than the joke before that just didn't make sense. So use the Jonjo method to elevate your prompt, and I promise you will get better responses. Human signals. So a curious thing happens when you start using ChatGPT more and more, is that you start noticing it more and more out in the wild. And I'm sure you've all experienced this. There's specific words and phrases and linguistic styles that it loves to use over and over again. And when you start looking for them, they stick out like a sore thumb. So for example, every single blog post starts with some version of let's delve into or let's dive into. It's infuriating. People don't read articles anymore. They embark on a journey of discovery. And honestly, if I see another LinkedIn post that starts with, in the ever-changing realm of, in the ever-changing digital landscape, SEO is more important, it's going to make me scream. The step one to humanizing your content is to recognize these patterns and disrupt them. Delete these phrases. Next, I want to empower you to use the first person. Don't be afraid of I. Remember, we are trying to showcase expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. And what better way to show that you're an expert by, yes, having useful information, but by looking and acting and sounding like an expert. Clearly, if you're writing for the NHS website or something with a really formal style guide, you can't do this, but it is appropriate in a far wider range of articles than we're doing right now. So I think this, in my experience, etc., people want to read from people. Which leads me to author blocks. We should all be putting author blocks on our content. It's a really important trust signal. It tells the reader and, of course, Google that this article was written by a real person with real specific expertise that gives them authority to write on this topic, along with some social proof to prove that this is the case. So add author blocks to your articles. You may recognize this. This is the famous BBC tagline, inform, educate, entertain. And this is a mindset that I want to bring into the world of SEO. So I have a theory that years of keyword optimizing articles has conditioned us to think that every single word and phrase in an article has to have some specific practical purpose or add some information. And I'm here to say that we can afford to add some personality and color to our writing. And I don't know that entertain is necessarily the right word for this, because I'm not saying your blog article on warehouse management or something like that is to be desperate entertaining to read, but I am saying that it should be engaging. Okay, I want you to approach every single piece of SEO content with the intention to inform, educate, and engage the reader. And it's obviously more easy on some accounts than others, but I've got a specific example of the kind of thing that I mean. So this is an article I was editing on a client website, and it's about the difference between conservatories and orangeries. So it's already pretty captivating stuff, but it included the subtitle here, The Origins of Orangeries, which is a bit of a tongue twister. So I just added the phrase, say that 5 times fast. It adds no new information to the article, but it makes it far more engaging and human to read. And this is the important thing here, is that you actually have to do this yourself. You can't get ChatGPT to do it for you. You have to edit your article and do it yourself. And I feel strongly enough about this that going back to the Google E guidelines, we obviously gained an extra E for experience. And I would be adding yet another new E for engaging or engagement, because I think it is an important thing that your reader actually wants to read what you're writing. So add human signals to your content. The most important thing to remember is you have to do this yourself. There are no shortcuts. So that is how to cheat using ChatGPT. And I think the main takeaway that I want to leave you with is something that I said right at the beginning. I don't want you to think of it as creating AI content. I want you to think of it as using AI as a tool to create excellent content. Thank you.
Demand sphere. Limitless visual insights from the SERPs. Unlimited dashboards and users. Easy to use and easy to scale your growth to new levels.
Monthly reporting making you want to shove sharp things up your nose? Try Dragon Metrics, the all-in-one SEO software with mind-blowing reporting tools.